Hey everybody, I'm Coach Rebecca Smith, and I'm here today to talk to the parents. So, sport parents, especially those of you who have young athletes who get anxious or who have what I call fragile confidence, where they'll be doing really well and then one thing goes wrong and it's like it goes sideways. It's a bad day. And then they'll be doing great and then it's a bad day. So if you know what that's like, or if you have an athlete who struggles with recurring mental blocks or just fear, general anxiety, I'm talking to you because I have a feeling, if you're anything like me, you might secretly wonder if you are part of the problem. And I say this because I have a little perfectionist. She's a mini gymnast. She's 5, so she hasn't exactly, gone the full distance with gymnastics yet. But I constantly am like, am I stressing her out? Oh gosh, I hope I'm not stressing her out. Oh, I really want her to do this thing, and like, don't make me look bad, but I don't want to worry. It's like so much in your head, right? So if that sounds like you, then stick around because I'm going to go over the 10 biggest mistakes that you can make if you are dealing with an athlete who lacks confidence. And then I'm going to give you some do's at the end. So I'll give you some don'ts and then I'll give you some do's. All right. So if you're wondering if you're part of the problem, I'm going to tell you right now, you probably are. Okay. I had an athlete that inspired this talk today in my live training last night. And I always, in the beginning of my group trainings, ask my Perform Happy member athletes, what are your struggles and what are your successes? And so they rattled off all their successes. And then one struggle in particular hit me right in the heart because this comes up really often. And she said, I'm still nervous to back tumble. She's a cheerleader. She's working through a mental block on her back tumbling. She said, I'm still nervous to back tumble and my parents are stressing me out about it. And so I was like, in my mind, when she said that, I went through a dozen athletes off the top of my head who I'm like, your parents are a big part of the problem. Now I can't speak to this, directly to this particular set of parents, but this just reminded me like that there's a lot of parents who mean really well who are stressing out their athletes. Okay, so here are your 10 don'ts, how to stop stressing out your athlete, to stop doing these things. Okay, the first thing that you can do to stop stressing out your athlete is to stop talking about the problem at drop off and pickup. Okay, and I'll go even further to say, don't talk about the problem at all. That is not your place. So an example here, I worked with an athlete who was she had a mental block on a backward skill on the beam. She was a gymnast. And every time her mom dropped her off, she'd be like, oh, go kiddo, get your back handspring today. Love you. And so what happened is the second that gymnast stepped out of the car, she was already tense. She was like, oh my gosh, there's so much pressure. I don't think I'm ready to do this today. Why does she put that on me? And then she gets frustrated. She walks in before her coach has even said a word to her. She's already feeling like she has failed. And mom's like, oh, I'm your biggest cheerleader. She really thinks she's being helpful. Then when she gets in the car at the end of the day, mom's like, did you do it? Did you do it? How did it go? And no, she didn't do it because she walked in all stressed out. She felt like she was failing. She didn't want to talk about it with her coach because she was expecting the same pressure coming from her coach. She wasn't able to get much progress made, and she gets in the car, and again, it reinforces that she feels like she has failed. So stop it. Don't talk about the problem, okay? I'll tell you later what you should talk about in the car, okay? In our do's section. So another don't try to motivate her, okay? And you're probably like, what? Don't try to motivate her. No bribes. Now, I'm going to be honest. This is coming from a person who is currently, I just yesterday ordered a mega bag of jelly beans so that I can be bribing my 2-year-old to go pee-pee on the potty. But of course, the sports psych in me is like, don't do it. This is not the answer. But I'm like, I just want her to go on the potty and stop peeing on my rugs. So here's the problem. It's like, you have your agenda. I'm like, girl, I don't want any more pee on my floor. So we're going to go to jelly beans, and you're probably like, girl, I don't want your tears in the car every single day. So we're going to try to bribe you with an iPad, if you get that skill, or one of my favorite examples is a mom who meant really well, who was like, if you get on the podium, I will get you a cat. And this girl, okay, so she's like, oh, I've always wanted a cat my entire life. This is all I want. I want this more than anything. And so she gets so stressed out that at every single meet, She's in 4th place, 5th place, just off the podium, just out of that for those top 3 spots. And finally, we talked to her mom and we're like, this incentive seems to be stressing her out more than it's helping. So maybe we could just take that off the table. And she was like, yeah, Mom, I think we should. And so they did. And then guess what? Literally the next competition, she wins all around, 1st place, because the pressure was off. Okay. So these athletes are already putting so much pressure on themselves that any extra thing that could be considered pressure is not useful. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my next don't threaten. Okay. So both positive motivation and negative motivation, neither of those are the answer. Okay. I've heard a lot of the times moms will say something like, if you don't get this sorted out by the end of the month, we're quitting. Or if you can't go over the vault successfully by November 1st, I am not dealing with this anymore. And it's the same thing, like where I'm like, I don't want pee on my floor. I just want this to be solved. But guess what? That little girl, or that little boy for you, is their own person. And they have to figure out their own natural consequences. Okay. So with my little pee on the potty friend, Violet, the way to go is to be like, okay, so you peed. Now you get to help me clean it up. And that's not that fun. And we'll try again. And I love you no matter what. I'm going to have to rethink the jelly beans after this conversation. But anyway, another thing about the threatening is that you can create a compliant child, a compliant athlete. I think a lot of youth sports are all about that compliant athlete that you're like, do it, and then they do it. And you tell them, do it some more, and they do it some more. Do it harder, they do it harder. Every coach loves a very compliant athlete. I think every parent loves a compliant child. I'm like, pee on the potty, she goes on the potty, great, I'm a good mom. That compliant athlete or that compliant child may become a very successful athlete. But here's the issue. Down below, they are terrified of criticism. They can't handle negativity. They need to be perfect. They need to feel perfect at all times because they think that that's where their value comes from saying yes and from doing what they're told. Okay. On the other hand, you'll have, this is what I'm trying to create in the Perform Happy community is self-motivated, self-reliant athletes. Okay. I'm talking about the athlete typically comes to me and they're the kind of kid who's going to go, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'll try. Even though inside they're like, I'm not ready. This doesn't feel safe, but okay, sure. No problem, coach. And then they freeze up and they can't do it and they don't know why. What I'm working to shift them to is to be the kind of athlete that can walk into that rotation and go, you know what? I know my confidence. I know what affects it. I know where I've been today. I know what's happening in my mind. And this is what feels right to me. And I have a voice and I'm willing to share that and collaborate and communicate with my coaches who I trust, who trust me, who appreciate my relationship with them. That self-motivated, self-trusting, self-reliant athlete, that's going to be long-term a better athlete. They're going to be long-term better college students and better humans because they don't need the iPad or the rope climb to get them moving. They follow their natural consequences and go, gosh, it doesn't feel good when I don't make it. I really want this for myself. That's the key. So stop trying to motivate your athlete. Okay. Also stop trying to tell her how she should feel or tell him how he should feel. Like, oh, don't worry. It's okay. Don't stress. Because they are stressed. They are freaked out. They are not happy. So you telling them not to feel that way just makes them feel like you don't get it. You don't care. You don't understand. Okay. Don't tell her how well her friend is doing or her sibling is doing. That's even worse. Like, oh, look, your teammate just got her vault. Maybe you could go. That maybe means you're getting closer. All that they're going to hear is, wow, cool. I'm failing and you're noticing it. And any positive things that you can say towards someone else, they can naturally feel like it's taken away from them and you're comparing them and going, you're not as good. So get it together. Okay. Don't remind her about tryouts or competition season coming up or evaluations or anything that's a time-based deadline. Like 7 more days until nationals. Like, none of that. Please don't do that because they already know. They know. And the more that they're reminded by their coach, by their parent, by their teammates that they only have 6 days, they only have 6 weeks, they only have 6 months, whatever. Even 12-year-olds are like, I'm getting so old and I'm running out of time. So don't reinforce that for them. Just don't do it. Not worth it. Next, don't ever, if there's any don't on this list that I really want you to not do, don't talk about how much money you have invested in their sport. Don't do it, because that again adds pressure, and they feel like my mom is paying a mortgage payment to have me in figure skating and I better be perfect. Again, that I better be compliant. I can't listen to my intuition. I can't speak up. I can't have a voice. I just got to do what I'm supposed to do because I am otherwise a burden on my coach's time, a burden on my parents' money. Don't do that. You know, she already probably feels that way, but when you actually bring in the like, do you know how much I am paying for this? Yeah, she probably does. And it probably weighs on her every single day when she is not feeling confident. Okay. Don't offer helpful feedback. Don't give her any coaching, because this, and I think in this today's day and age, people sort of know this, but I'm just going to put it out there just in case. Don't coach your kid. I mean, if you are your kid's coach, obviously totally different can of worms. But if your athlete is getting corrections from a coach, then they're probably getting slightly different corrections from another coach on their coaching team. Then they're getting slightly different corrections from you, and they have a choice. They're like, who am I going to let down today? Whose correction am I going to try that's going to disappoint 2 other people, 3 other people, you know, however many opinions they have coming at them. And then they also have their own intuitive thought of, I think this is probably what I need to do. But then I'm letting everybody down if I trust my own intuition, if I trust my own sense of what my body needs or what my next progression is. So don't give them one more thing to feel like they're failing on, like your corrections, your suggestions. Even if you won the Olympics in their sport, you've hired their coaches, let the coaches do it. Just for if anything else, it's just about consistency. It's less for them to be distracted by. Okay, final, oh wait, no, 2 more don'ts. Okay, assume that what works for you will work for her. Don't do that. Don't assume that because you're fiery and you're like the kind of person who needs a kick in the butt, and when your coach yelled at you when you were an athlete, you got to it and you did it. And when you get mad, you get really fired up and you go after it, because your kid might not be that way. Your kid might be like a more watery, go with the flow, don't like to make waves kind of kid. And that anger just makes them feel unsafe. Their own anger doesn't work for them the way that yours does. If you found that visualizing worked really well for you, it might not work for them because they're different than you. And of all the athletes that I've worked with one-on-one and in groups and throughout the Perform Happy community lifetime, everybody is different. Everybody. Even twins are different, totally different in what they need in their mental skills. So whenever a coach is like, okay, everybody, visualize this and then take 3 deep breaths, go. You might be appealing to many of the kids and that might be useful, but for a handful of them, that may do nothing for them. Maybe their visual sense isn't strong. So don't assume that what works for you is going to work for them. Then the final please don't keep asking her if she wants to quit. Okay, if every time it gets hard and she's in tears and she's hurt and things are going wrong, don't be like, do you even want to do this anymore? And I get a lot of parents who come to me and they're like, when do we know if we should just quit? When should we quit? And I'm like, okay, this is not a we discussion. It's not about you, the parent. Like once you have committed to competitive team sports, it's her, it's your child's decision whether or not they want to continue, not yours. And when they hear you say, let's just quit, they hear, my mom doesn't believe in me. My dad doesn't think I can do it. My parents think this is a waste of money. My parents think this is a waste of time. But really it boils down to they don't believe in me. They don't think I can get through this. Okay. So don't ask. If she brings it up, have the conversation. Okay. So now we're going to switch gears. We're moving into the do's. Here's what to do. All right. This is how you breathe new life into that relationship with your athlete. You get them talking. Isn't that like the holy grail, to actually have them tell you what's going on? My gosh, I would like pull teeth to be able to just find out what happened at preschool, Here's how you do it. This is how you create that relationship that atmosphere where people actually want to come to you. Oh, someone's saying, oh boy, am I learning? I'm doing everything wrong. Hey, good. You're in the right place, right? All right. So here are the do's. Here are your instructions moving forward. Focus on what's going well. Like I said, don't focus on the problem. They are very aware of the problem. Your job is to find what is working, because we are all, as humans, naturally negative. So what we want to do is shift it to where they're forced to see, oh, well, that was good. They'll be like, my day was horrible. And you can be like, well, I noticed that you vaulted really confidently, or, hey, your coach told me that your bars were good. Yeah, but I didn't do anything on beam. They might not want to hear it, but if you can focus on what's going well or any tiny bit of progress they're making. That most of these athletes are perfectionists. They feel like if they are not doing it on the high beam by themselves with no mats, with no hesitation, they are failing. Every progression along the way up until the perfect version of it is failure. So if you can be like, oh my gosh, I saw that you got rid of one panel on the panel mat on the low beam today. That's amazing. Or in your mind, you might be like, oh my gosh, why is she still on the low beam? You don't say that. You say, oh, you got rid of one of the panels today. That is awesome. I'm so proud of you. Okay. You might have to fake it a little for these, but that's okay. Focus on effort. Even if there has been zero progress, even if you can find nothing to compliment in that practice, you go, kiddo, I'm proud of you for getting out there and working. Effort. You are working at this. You are not giving up. You are determined, and I'm proud of you. And they're going to be like, what are you on, mother? Like, why are you complimenting me on the worst practice I've ever had? Because you got out there and you tried. Good job. Let's go home and have food. Okay. That comes to our third do, which it's sort of become a mantra in the Perform Happy Parents Facebook group. Rides, hugs, food, tuition. Rides, hugs, food, tuition. That is all you are responsible for. You drive them, you hug them, you love them no matter what, you feed them, and you pay. That is your job as a sport parent. That's it. So when in doubt, less is more. Rides, hugs, food, tuition. Say it with me, okay? So that's all you got. That's all you're responsible for. Isn't that nice? It's so much easier. Okay, then a few more do's here. Take her out to celebrate, even if she falls 47 times. Even if it's, again, the worst. You go out to ice cream anyway. In the COVID times, maybe you don't get to go out to ice cream or whatever, but do your own version of that where you're like, you showed up, you tried, I believe in you. Let's go celebrate. I don't care that you were the last one, the worst. It was your worst ever. I love you. You tried. Okay. Next in the do's, these come down to you and your relationship with yourself as the parent. Take care of yourself. If your oxygen mask is not on, you cannot help other people. Okay. Put your oxygen mask on first, then assist your child. If you are stressed, if you are tired, if you're overworked, if you're overextended financially, if you are in a situation where you're always on edge, you're setting the context for how they sit next to you in the car. They're going to feel it and they're going to mirror it. It's just human nature. So you take deep breaths, do whatever you need to do. That's a self-care act that can allow you to feel a little more comfortable in your skin. That's going to help her to feel more comfortable in her skin, or him to feel more comfortable in his skin. Talk about it with other people, not your athlete. It's okay to be livid with your child. It's normal. I can relate. It's okay to feel like you're wasting all your money on something that is just completely worthless. It's okay to be so frustrated and at your wit's end, but do not talk to them about it. Talk to other gym parents. Talk to your spouse. Talk to your therapist. Talk to somebody else who will keep it safe with them so that you can vent. And you don't have to be talking to your kid going, you're driving me crazy. Oh my gosh, when are we going to get through this? Say those words to somebody else. So then you get to your kid and you're like, hey, bud, how you doing? Here, brought you some food. Okay. And the 3 do's are left here. Be in charge of your own feelings and emotions. So like I just said, that whole you're driving me crazy. You're making me insane. You're making me so mad. Giving the power over your emotions to a 13-year-old is not healthy. It just isn't. And I do this. I catch myself and I hear the words coming out of my mouth where I'm like, you are driving me so crazy. Really, am I going to give a 5-year-old complete power over my emotions and my feelings? No. Like, if I'm really being a grown-up, she could be doing everything wrong. The little one's peeing on the floor, the big one's who knows what, like chewing on her toes and throwing things across the room. And I'm just like, boy, I feel a little aggravated. It's not her doing that to me. It's just happening. So the best move I can make in that moment is to have my own coping skills around my emotions. Breathe. That's number one. You know, if you're about to say you're driving me crazy, that is the key for take a deep breath, or 5. You know, walk outside, get some fresh air, call a friend, do something other than giving your athlete, your child, responsibility for the way that you're feeling. Okay, then last 2, be neutral. I talk about this in the peak performance parenting course in Perform Happy. That's a mouthful, apparently. Be neutral. Let go of the need for her to get that scholarship. I know this is going to be a tough one to swallow. Let go of your need for her to tumble backwards this week. Let go of whatever agenda you think they need to be working toward. And just be neutral. If she falls 47 times, go get ice cream. If she wins, go get ice cream. You know, just be neutral. Remember, rides, hugs, food, tuition. No agenda, no coaching, no recruiting, no nothing. Just you are the parent. And then you can outsource other things, other experts to handle the rest of it so that you can just be the parent. And then the final one, which I think is very important, is to listen more than you talk. Okay? Try to have them talk 75%, you talk 25% when they're talking about their sport. And what you can do, especially if they're complaining, they're like, oh, they're annoying you, they're not taking responsibility, they're being so negative, you can clearly see what their problem is and you really want to solve it. You really want to tell them what they need to do. The best thing to do there is to actually repeat back to them what their words were. You know, so if she's like, my coach hates me, I am never going to get this skill. Instead of being like, your coach does not hate you, you're going to be fine. And they're like, you don't understand and you don't care. Okay. If they were to say, my coach hates me and I'm never going to get this skill, you go, oh, buddy, that is so hard that you feel like your coach hates you and you feel like you're never going to get that skill. Okay. Stick with me. When you do that, then they go, oh, well, I mean, yeah, okay, that's a little extreme. Like, he doesn't hate me. He just was being really grumpy today. They hear their words back and then they can have a little bit of rational connection with what they're saying and go, well, yeah, no, I know I'm going to get the skill. You didn't have to say anything. You didn't have to tell them that their coach doesn't hate them. They're going to hear that and go, well, no, he doesn't hate me. He's just like really frustrated with me. And I'm frustrated too. Try this. I dare you to just next time your kid is like, bleh, just listen, repeat back to them what they're saying and give them hugs. One more time, rides, hugs, food, tuition. Okay. Rides, hugs, food, tuition. That's your job. No pressure, no stress. No, I know this is a lot, right? So just like I asked the athletes, start where you are. If you are doing everything wrong in this moment and you just had a big aha, just get a little better, okay? Same with the athletes. You start where you are, get awareness, and then get a little better. That's it. You don't have to be perfect. All right. Thank you for listening. Reach out if you have any questions, and I will see you again soon. Bye.